if they lose, fine, that's all right. But you know what? If they win, oh baby, okay. Like you'll never be able to get me to shut the hell up if they do win. Obviously, the Raiders did not perform well, to say the least. Indianapolis comes into town and just absolutely boat raced you. But why don't you give us your thoughts about that game?
I mean, honestly, man, it the game it says it all in the score, right? Honestly, I think better time spent would be like this roster isn't it's not good enough, man. It's just not. I'm going, I spent the past hour, 2 hours when I got home from work going through the roster, was texting friends today. We're talking about it today. Even my dad was in my office talking to me, hey, what happened? And I just started looking over the roster, man. In defensively, I think the defense is I know the 40 piece makes it look like you're not playing good defense, but the offense has had so many turnovers, so many three and outs that you're just putting the defense constantly in a compromised position. So I think if if this was truly a bad defense, it would have been 80 to 80 to 3 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
The
It was
defense
40-6 was the final score, by the way,
right.
and it was in Indianapolis, by the way, too. I had that
Um
mixed up. Yeah.
so I think the defense is playing decent. However, I look at the linebacker room and there isn't a quarterback in the linebacker room, and like some of the best defenses, like top tier defenses, Super Bowl contenders, you have a linebacker in the middle of the field. That's just kind of like one of the milestones that you need. And we don't have that in the second level. We don't have that in the third level. And even the Pete Carroll Seattle teams, the Legion of Boom, they had those guys. And maybe, there's a couple of young guys on the roster, maybe one of them develops or some of them develop into those superstars. But until that happens, they're not, right? They're not those guys aren't there until they prove it. So there's not really a guy in the secondary that's coming in and creating turnovers or taking out the opposing team's best wide receiver. They don't have a lockdown corner. They just don't have those players. Maybe they're on the roster, but they just haven't developed it because they have a lot of young guys back there. Offensively, excuse me, going back to the defense, you still haven't identified a running mate for Max Crosby. They're still trying to figure out is Malcolm Kuntz is going to be that guy. Who's going to be that guy? Adam Butler. We gave you a lot of money. We trusted you. You were half the reason why we could say goodbye to Christian Wilkins. W- You know, you're not a running mate with Max right now. Like the defense is playing all right, but we're not getting enough sacks. We're not getting enough turnovers. Um, those guys just aren't on the roster, in my opinion. Offensively, the offensive line has just been absolutely terrible. You've invested a couple of draft picks, but those guys are clearly not ready. Coaching has said that, and it takes a little while for some of these offensive line to develop their technique. So some of those guys probably won't really see until the end of the year or possibly next year as they get a full season under their belt. I think you got a couple of studs in Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. I think Genty has proven that he's extremely talented and has the potential to dominate the running game in this league, and he's showing that he can catch. So he's showing he is a player to be reckoned with in this league. But you need a line, and Geno Smith isn't helping with these turnovers. Another one. I think that's 9 on the year. Another 2, I think it's like, what, 9 on the year?
No, he had
So,
I think it's up to 13 now. I think he had 11.
geez, I mean, it's terrible. Um, so I think ultimately the way I'm reassessing this season at the playoffs, you probably got no shot. I mean, statistically, it says you got no shot. Obviously, you still got to go out there and compete, but really, what I would like to see is like the young guys. Who's going to be here next year? And I consider anybody part of this past draft class. I'm going to call it the Spy Tech era. I don't really want to call it the Pete Carroll era because Spy Tech has a 5-year deal and Pete Carroll has a 3-year deal. So the more I'm thinking about this and going back and just putting this all together, is I think what they're really trying to do is just they're going to build through the draft. All of these guys that they brought in, there's not really any multi-year deals given out. Um, they're all on prove it deals. So now I just really want to see the young guys step up and see who's going to be a role player, who can potentially be a starter. I would still love to knock out some wins and see a winning team and see improvement. But this team is just not very deep on the roster, man, just throughout. And that sucks. That doesn't mean I'm out on Pete Carroll. I think the coaching is good. I think the mission statement is there. I think the philosophy is there. They've been there, done that. I just don't think this roster is good enough. I mean, they just released Jermaine Pratt, so that I guess that's Jamal Adams as your weak side linebacker full time. Is that something you're going to hang your hat on if you're going to be a playoff team? I don't think so. I really respect his game. I really respect what he can do as a player that can come in and create havoc and do something for a short burst. But to count on that, how many plays a game? 60, 70, 80 snaps a game? I don't know. I don't think that's there. So I think my silver lining is, guys, is I went back and I started looking at the draft of the 49ers, the Eagles, because they're respectfully, those are franchises over the past 10, 15, 20 years that have relatively stayed competitive and been to Super Bowls and won Super Bowls. And why is that? And that's because it started in the draft. So I think that's kind of the approach I'm looking at is John Spytek is here to provide some stability. I believe there are some pieces on the roster, um, but it's all going to be built through the draft. You're not going to see a lot of free agent signings. I think they rolled the dice with Geno, and it didn't work out for whatever reason. I thought it would work out better than this. If I was gambling, I didn't think it would be this many interceptions this early in the year. I thought the running game would have been consistent from day one. Um, so there's definitely been some mishaps, whether that's coaching, whether that's execution, all of it. At the end of the day, I just think they don't have enough talent on the roster. You look at teams that are on the come up, they have young, exciting, explosive players. And when you watch the tape on the Raiders, they just don't have that. They got a room full of guys that are like really good role players, but you need to have that superstar in the middle, like the Fred Warner. You need to have somebody on the back end that can create turnovers and take the number one receiver off the field. Offensively, you got to have a consistent offensive line. I look at the 49ers with Mac Jones, and it was a three-step drop, boom, balls out. Like balls out. Where with Geno, it's like you got him in shotgun, you got him in pistol, and those plays you're waiting for the wide receivers to develop. You're waiting for the route tree to develop, and it's not going to happen. You know, put them under center, three-step drop, get the ball out. Take what the defense gives you, but enough of this second and long, third and long, fourth and long. Like put yourself in a position to just be sharp and crisp on offense, and maybe you have a chance. Um, but it's just been it's hard, man. It's really hard
Yeah.
to watch. It's a terrible product, and I get why if you're living in the Las Vegas area, why you wouldn't go to a game if you're a Raider fan. And I get the reason why if you're a visiting fan, why you would go. I get it. And until you defend it and own your stadium, like you're gonna get walked on, you know. And this was a point I made to my dad was, for John Spytek and Pete Carroll, for them, this is year one. Okay, for them, this is year one. whatever happened to the Raiders and Tom Brady and the tuck and Derek Carr breaking his foot, like whatever bad juju the Raiders have, it don't matter to them. This year one for them. For us, the fans, this is like year 30 of like of mediocrity. It's been 22 years, 23 years since the Raiders lost the Super Bowl. So we haven't even been close to getting to the Super Bowl, let alone being a playoff contender. So as a fan, we carry the frustration of 20 plus years. But for Pete Carroll and Spytek, they're carrying the frustration of this season. And I think like for their process to work, I look at the Lions. They remember we were laughing at Dan Campbell's press conference when he was like, "I'm going to bite kneecaps. I'm going to be chewing on ankles." We laughed at it, and now look at they got the second or third best roster in the NFL, and they look very promising. But they built it through the draft, and I think that's something that as Raider fans we have to remind ourselves is that this franchise has been reset so many times that they're constantly in a flux of rebuild. So I think the worst thing you could do is fire Pete Carroll and Sean Spytek. That is the worst thing you can do. Like honestly, guys, no matter how it looks like, for me, I think you really have to let Pete Carroll have the 3 years, and you have to let John Spytek have the 5 years. Like they have to live out their contract just to have some consistency. Even if they don't get to a Super Bowl, you gotta have that vision follow through. Because right now, like they just keep hitting the reset button every year and a half, and you can't do that. You just can't do it. You gotta be consistent in the draft.
Yeah. All right. Well said. Um, let's move on to Tyler. Your boys had a little bit of a rough showing. Denver comes to town and take you off of the unbeaten's. You lose 21-17. You made it close. It was real close at the end there. Our background image in our main image is that Hail Mary, yet fingertips were on the ball. Oh, you almost had it, but couldn't quite get there. Unfortunately, you do fall. What did you see in the game though? What did you think?
I saw that it was 21-3 at halftime, and like I said, we are playing one half of football. Unfortunately, that's not how you play football. You got to play two halves, and again, I see this was a little bit more promising than I would say the last few games. I'm not too mad at the play calling. It looked like it was still getting developed. And I'm not going to say that Denver's defense didn't change because they ran a man concept in the first half and then changed to a zone concept, which just really messed everything up there. But realistic, what you should be doing in a zone concept, if that's what you're seeing, start run the ball outside, stretch the field, shoot the A gaps more, and it just wasn't happening. We were trying to basically find the mismatch, which the mismatch we kept trying to go to was Patrick Surtain, and well, it may have worked in the first half. When you go to a zone concept, Patrick Surtain is all world for a reason, right? So he's going to figure it out just like the rest of the defense did. So I'm not entirely upset about it. I do think obviously there's a lot of things we could work on. Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts having 8 total rushes combined, that's unacceptable in my opinion. Yeah, I know Saquon
That's
had the
malpractice. Yeah.
yeah, Saquon had the big 21-yarder catch for the touchdown there, but realistically, you have a 2,000 season rusher doing 4 carries, 5 carries, and averaging 3 yards. That still needs to get worked out. I think that he had one break for like 12 yards, and that was it. So I think what I was saying before was that defensively, you're asking your team to basically carry the weight, which they have been doing, and it's going to catch up to you. And guess what? It caught up to us, But all things considered, you lost to a team that's not in your division. It's a half a game, you know. Unfortunately, the Cowboys won, and the Commanders also won. So that's an unfortunate situation here. But at the same time, losing a half game versus losing a whole game in your division, I'll take it. Right? It's not going to be the end of the world. Plenty of things to work on. We got a quick turnaround Thursday night against the Giants. and then after that, we can kind of see where the team is standing at that point. So, look, it's hard to win the NFL every single week. It's a hard thing to do. So to say
Trust
that
me, I know.
I know
Yep.
to say that we're gonna blow out the Giants this Thursday, I don't know. We could. We also could make
You
it a
never know
very
what's
close
gonna
game.
happen.
You
Yeah.
know, so on a short rest like that, I hope the fire has been lit to get some offensive plays going. And I think the problem too that we're running into is like you know a lot of kind of our linemen kind of alluded to it that they're not getting the plays fast enough, right? So then guys aren't ready at the line. Guys aren't ready if a play call needs to be changed, right? And I think of a little bit maybe falls on Jalen Hurts getting that play out and getting his guys set early. But I think a lot of that still kind of falls on Kevin Matullo. And I think he's taken too long to see what the defense might be out in the field and then trying to react to a play that might work. So I think it's something that you're going to have to deal with a first time offensive coordinator. This is just literally his first time ever doing this, given the reins. You know, and I think that's a hard ask just because usually you get your first time OCs with pretty dog shit teams, so there's plenty of leash to make mistakes. But when you come off of the Super Bowl, you kind of are going to get looked at in the media a little bit more than maybe let's say if you were playing in I don't know Cleveland for instance, right? So or New York for instance, right? So well maybe not so. New York media is pretty brutal. We'll say Cleveland, right? So I think that there's that you're going to have fans that are just up in the air about it. I'm certainly one of those guys. I think that Ken Batula does need to be able to react better. Some of the play calling has been very vanilla at best. But again, we're doing the same thing. We only can do one half of football, and I would love to see it come to fruition where we're able to complete four quarters of a football game with a dominance. So still early, I'll take the L in a non-divisional game. So
Yeah.
looking forward to Thursday, and that's all. That's where my mindset is. Thursday for two reasons: the Sharks and for my Eagles.
Right. Oh, great. I guess it means it's my turn.
Mhm.
Time for somebody to be in a good mood, right? So let's rewind back to Thursday morning, Wednesday afternoon. The news comes out Brock isn't going to play. Uh, doesn't look good going on paper. I'll say that. Ricky Pearsall's out. Juwan Jennings is out. I don't want to say it looks grim, but damn, it looks grim. It's like okay, you know what? If they lose, fine, that's all right. But you know what? If they win, oh baby, okay. Like you'll never be able to get me to shut the hell up if they do win. And wouldn't you know it, the Niners go down into Levi's South, take over the stadium, like they always do. The fans show up down there because that's ours. That's our vacation home. Make it ours, make it red. Um, Go, and there it is. They can't do their Rams house cheer because the Niners fans make it ours. This is Niners house. And they get the win in overtime 26-23. So I love seeing all those memes beforehand. It's like I saw one in particular. It was like, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals fans like all shaking hands and is attending the 49ers funeral, and then like people like tweeting stuff out like that, and then right below it is a picture of Fred Warner after the game like cheering and smiling at Levi's South. So pictures like that, love seeing that. Really just puts a smile on my face. But even before the game started, that Thursday started off really weird. uh Apparently Mac Jones, he saw a dead body. There was somebody like in their the team hotel in Marina Del Rey. There was like a body in their pool. Like they looked out on the balcony. Somebody was floating in their pool. Yeah, yeah. So that was a little odd. Uh, you know,
I did
uh,
see that posting onto it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Diana Rossini for the Athletic reported that. So they saw a body floating in the water. So that was odd. The incident was still under investigation after Friday, so that's the last time I checked up on it because then news broke elsewhere. But yeah, so let's talk about the game itself. You had you open up with the touchdown. Mac Jones finding Jake Tongas, the third string tight end, right? So that was great. You get another touchdown. Christian McCaffrey, who's been used like crazy, especially since you lose all the other pieces. Christian McCaffrey running the ball, not very effective. He was only like 2.6 yards on average. I think it was 22 carries and 57 yards, not very efficient. He only had a long of 8. So, the offensive line, those injuries are starting to pile up there, and, he's just not as effective right there. But then he's still effective as a pass catcher, 8 for 82. So that's a 10.3 average. And then Kendrick Bourne had 10 catches for a buck 42. Are you kidding me? That long, the longest was 35 yarder as well. So, also Jake Tongas had 11 targets as well. He had 7 catches for 41 yards. I mean, I'm not counting on Jake Tongas to have,
That
12
was a
targets,
nice
but
pickup in my league. I swung for the fences on that one. I hit a home run. So thank you for
yeah,
that.
yeah, he's been great. You're probably only going to get one more week out of him though, because
That's fine. I don't need
it
any more.
sounds like Kittle could return. He's likely to be back by week 7, is what it sounds like, which is great news because that first week before he got injured, he was lighting it up, and it looked like it was going to be a huge Kittle season, and it still could be. Just based on what Jake Tongas is doing. I mean, put George Kittle there and just imagine, you know, turn that 7 for 41. I imagine that's with 11 targets. I imagine that's 9 for 110, or something like
Right,
that, something really
right.
ridiculous, and two touchdowns instead of one touchdown. Like, it's like that's the kind of stat line you're looking at for George Kittle, if you replace him with Jake Tongas in the starting lineup there. That's kind of what I'm looking at, if uh, when George Kittle re-enters the lineup here in a couple of weeks. They're on the mini bye, as we like to call it, when you play that Thursday night game. So you get the week and a half off, which is great. Let's see. What else happened with the game itself? They made it interesting when you look at the stops in the end. That's where you get a little lucky. Okay, you get uh, 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 you get the fumble, right? At the end, Kyron fumbled the ball, and you're able to you get that turnover. You end up punting on a 3 and out. That only lasted about, it was a 23-second drive, so to speak. He took 23 seconds off the clock, but you're at the end of the game. That took it down to about a minute left. Uh, and the Rams were only able to get about they were only able to get a field goal on the ensuing. They were coming down for a touchdown. They were about to like win the game, but because you were able to force that fumble, they come back. They were only able to get a field goal. That's huge. That forces it to overtime instead of a potential game winner. And then in overtime, you get the field goal. You turn around, you stuff them on that fourth down, and the game is over. Oh, huge play. I don't know what some of that play calling was on the other side, but the Niners took advantage of that. You take what's given to you, right? You can only do with what's given to you. You get the opportunities that are presented to you, and the Niners took advantage of that, and they played up. They showed out, and then they handled business. Man, I was very pleased, obviously, with getting the win. And now the Niners are in first place in the NFC.
Yeah, that's
Because of the Eagles' loss. So tied for first with the Eagles, and everybody else. Nobody's undefeated anymore because the Bills also lost. So everybody has at least one loss. Yeah, it's everybody's all even. It's like nobody's lost now at this point. Yeah, Eddie Pinheiro with that field goal off the post and in. Uh, Jake Moody, that doesn't even hit the post, apparent, like I would bet. So that's nice. It's nice when the breaks go your way instead. So that's good. Doinking in. That's good. Uh, so yeah, I'm breathing easier now a little bit. That's great. I didn't even need my inhaler to breathe easier, so that's good. Got my cardio workout in too on Thursday night. That's great. Yeah, just overall, I'm feeling pretty good about how that ended up going down overall, and just having upvote parties on Reddit. Especially in the NFC West meme war. Especially on Sunday when everybody was talking their shit, and then I was just like watching the Seahawks lose as well. Oh, so great, so great. Oh, I loved it. Oh, that's so good. The Buccaneers took care of business for us, and then the Arizona Cardinals embarrassed
Yeah, that
themselves.
was crazy.
Yeah,
Like just seeing the highlights of that game.
oh yeah, they were up 21-9 or something like that with like 13 minutes left in the game, and they were their running back DeMarcado was running a 70 70 something yards to the end zone. He drops the ball short of the end zone. I don't know why skilled position players do that. He's slowing up like 10 yards short, and then he just drops the ball short. And Tennessee ends up winning the game. So all right. Anyway, that's enough of that. There's a couple of notes we have here for the NFL at large. Let's start with the downer and then finish with the happier note. Mark Sanchez doing some idiot stuff.
He was intoxicated. I did not put that note in there, so I do want to preface that. Not that it made it any better.
No, he was arrested for.
Did you hear what they were arguing about?
Well, hold on. Let's say what it was first.
Let's say what it was. He was arrested for allegedly assaulting a DoorDash worker. Mark was stabbed and in critical condition. Misdemeanor charge was then updated to a felony, felony 2, I believe, and he faces 1 to 6 years in prison, possibly. The DoorDash driver is suing Mark as well. Yeah. So what were they arguing over?
I read that it was a truck driver picking up recycled grease from a hotel. And Mark Sanchez was, nah, you can't do that here. I talked to the owner. They were literally arguing about this guy doing his job. And apparently it's like a 60-something-year-old man. And the dude pulled out his pepper spray. He was getting his ass beat, so he stabbed him. He's Mark Sanchez.
That's crazy.
What? Incident that never should have happened. What are you doing, dude?
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't understand. He was in Indianapolis, right? I think after the
call the Raider and Colts game.
He was going to be calling that game. Who I missed it. Who ended up calling that game instead? Who did they?
The great Brady Quinn.
They called in Brady Quinn. Oh Lord.
Wow.
Oh,
well, Notre Dame.
Okay. Anyway. So Mark Sanchez just, being a real just piece of work. Anyway.
Career
Yeah. I think the broadcast career might be on hold for a little bit there while they get that sorted out. Then on to some happier news. Keenan Allen recorded his 1,000th career reception in 159 games. I had a little typo there. That's the fewest games anyone's ever took to get there. So congrats to Keenan Allen. Great work there. If he hadn't had some injuries, we would say he would have been one of the youngest. Obviously not one of the youngest, but one of the fastest to get there. Obviously, fewest games to get there. That's pretty impressive. So great work there. Cal's own, Keenan Allen. Love that.